Do you want to practice to make sure it works? Yeah, my computer's muted.
Something I got, vendor.
Test. It's muted.
That's okay. That's okay. I will just do things.
Okay. Yeah.
It's one thing.
Okay. I trust you guys. Is it 2:15? Okay, great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. So thank you all for being here. My name is Sam Floor. I am the Virginia History Day Coordinator at the Virginia Museum of History and Culture. And today we're going to be talking about National/Virginia History Day project-based learning and how you can bring engaging social studies education back to your school and utilizing whatever hat you wear in your school as a technology specialist, as a teacher, as a librarian, no matter who you are in your school or school division. This is National History Day is going to apply in some way. So what I'm going to do today is talk to you, tell you what National History Day is if you're unfamiliar with it. I'm then going to tell you how National History Day works. Practically speaking, what do you need to do as a teacher to implement this program in your classroom? And then I'm going to talk about how you can get started. What can you go back to your school divisions and start doing tomorrow, Wednesday, or whatever it is that you're going to actually go back and start working at your school. One of my main goals of this presentation is just I've already achieved it because there are people in this room, and you're going to know about what National History Day is. Because by a show of hands, who has heard of National History Day before? Well, actually, I've been proven wrong. That's more hands than I normally see. Most people have no idea what it is, and I start with a blank. So there's a lot of people who know what it is, who have. Testing to Zoom land. Better? Better. Okay, better is good. Better is better than worse. Okay. Let's see if my clicker is going to work. Clicker not working. That's okay. So first, I want to tell you about who I work for. So my museum is the Virginia Museum of History and Culture. Who's familiar with our institution, VMHC? Okay, so not everybody. That's good. So we're located in Richmond, Virginia. We're the oldest cultural institution in the state. We're formerly the Virginia Historical Society. That's what a lot of you all might know the name from. We rebranded a few years ago. Founded in 1831, we tell the entire history of the state of Virginia from thousands of years ago to today. Please, if you have not, come see us. Our exhibits are really cool. We have over 9 million artifacts, manuscripts in our collection, from everyday folks to George Washington, which is probably the most famous. We're located on Arthur Ashe Boulevard, right next to the Fine Arts Museum. And our institution does 4 main things for teachers and educators. The first is we do in-house field trips, of course. So if you can bring your students to us, our field trips are free, and we can customize them based off of what you're teaching and what courses or what topics that you're focusing on in your content right then. So please just let us know, and if we don't have something that you need, we can customize it. We also have History Connects, which is our digital learning opportunity. So our educators will zoom into the classroom with your students using artifacts, primary sources to, again, teach different subjects and content. Again, anything that is related to Virginia history, we can do a History Connects program on. So check out our website. If you don't see something that you might need, let us know, we can customize it. We also do professional development all the time. So constantly check out our website. Over the summer, we do Teachers Institutes, week-long Teachers Institutes, where you get to learn with experts in Virginia history and really deep dive onto different content. And then lastly is Virginia National History Day, which I'm going to be talking about today. So please just check out our website, virginiahistory.org/learn/educators. All of our stuff is on there. We have primary source packets, content, lesson plans, activities you can do with your students. Again, almost all of it is free. So please check us out, take our stuff. We want to be a resource for every teacher and student in the state. And also I should mention too, that we're undergoing a huge renovation right now, a big capital improvement campaign. We're doubling our exhibit space. So come see us in May or in the summer, and that'll be finished, and it's gonna be really transformative. We have some really cool stuff going on. And again, I should mention this presentation is on Sketch, and all the links are there as well if you don't wanna worry about typing all that in. Okay, so today we're gonna be focusing on Virginia/National History Day. And before we jump into it, we need to define our terms like any good educator. So what is National History Day? Well, National History Day is a nationwide project-based learning program. It was founded in the late 1970s. There are today affiliates or programs in every state of the country, even international students participating. And we see about 500,000 kids engage with the program every year. Here in the state of Virginia, our museum, the Virginia Museum of History and Culture, is the state sponsor, and we refer to Virginia's program as Virginia History Day. But Virginia History Day and National History Day, they are the same thing. It's just a difference in branding. In Virginia, the program is open to students in grades 4 through 12, and it's any student, public, private, homeschool. No matter who you are as a kid in those age ranges, you can participate in NHG. And we see about 8,000 students participate every year. Like any good project-based learning program, we're focusing on teaching students skills. So historical thinking skills are the focus, but just creative thinking skills in general. And to go along with that skill-based learning is student-led learning as well. We want them to be in the driver's seat for as much of the process as is possible. So student-led learning and skill-based learning is going to lead to deeper, more relevant learning. And there are tons of sessions. You guys are all smart educators. I don't need to spend a lot of time talking about the importance of relevancy and the importance of skills, because you guys already know how important it is. And that's an integral part of the National History Day experience. And the thing I also want to mention is the program's flexibility. That is, I think, one of the great benefits of National History Day. This is a program that takes place between teachers and students. But the national office, we at the state level, we mandate almost very, very little on how teachers implement this with the students in the classroom. So what does that mean? That means, what is going on with this? That means that you can do this as an in-class assessment. It can be a class-wide assessment. It lends itself really well to that. You could also do this as an extracurricular club type activity or some hybrid model in between. It really doesn't matter. Any way that you think that this program can work for you and your students, do it. That could also mean you don't do the full NHG experience. Maybe just elements of the framework that we have appeal to you. And again, we're all about teaching skills. So maybe there is something that we have developed that teaches students how to write a thesis statement really effectively. And that's all you're going to get out of NHG. And that's a win for us. That's fine. Again, what we're trying to do here is teach students social studies skills in an engaging and relevant way. And we have a free framework of free resources to do that. So any way that you can benefit from what we've developed is a win for us. Please don't think of having to do this whole the full scale thing to participate or to get stuff out of it. Just a couple more seconds on pedagogy. Big picture, why should you as an educator know about National History Day? Well, the first one, is we already talked about, is teaching students skills. And this is a history, social studies project, but it's way more than that. National History Day is very much interdisciplinary. Every student is reading and writing as part of their project, so literacy is baked in. Every student is using technology to do research, to put their projects together. Those technology standards are rolled in as well. Many students are doing fine arts skills as well, doing creative expression, playwriting, media, creating documentaries. So this is a great opportunity for you and your other colleagues in other departments in your school to kill multiple birds with a single stone. And it's a great opportunity to collaborate with one another. So work with your librarian. If you're a librarian, work with your social studies teachers, work with your English colleagues, work with maybe people in drama or art class. There really is no limit as to all the different people in your school that can collaborate together on this. And the most successful schools out there that participate in National History Day are the ones that collaborate the most. And that means there's less work on your individual shoulders. You get to spread the work out amongst your colleagues who have different expertise. And it's good for the students as well, because there's different adult eyeballs with different backgrounds that are helping them on their projects too. So the program is interdisciplinary. It's also inspirational. We want students to feel like they can take on these types of projects as they move throughout their academic career. And the earlier that you can start, the better. Because as a 6th grader or a 5th grader, this might be the first time they've ever done a research project like this before. And it might be really scary and intimidating. But National History Day makes the process as fun as I think is possible. It also breaks it down into manageable steps that don't overwhelm the students all at once. It's just, let's get this step done and then we'll move on to the next. And at the end of the process, they're going to have a final project that they're really proud of. And in future years, when they're assigned research projects, they're not going to be scared. They're going to be excited. And they will know that they're capable of taking this kind of work on. And then also, again, focusing on how this is more than just a history research project. We're wanting students to engage with skills that are necessary to be a successful adult in general. So that means teaching them time management skills, teaching them collaboration skills, teaching them how to look at citizenship, connections between the past and to today. To be a good, effective citizen, you have to understand how our society has gotten to where it is, to be able to make change, to be able to make informed decisions. So again, all of those bigger skills, those bigger life skills are also wrapped up into an NHG project. So that means that this is really good for students because they're going to be working on multiple different skill sets that they need to engage with all in one thing across different curriculums, across different classes. Plus, it's also great for you to justify this to your administration. I'm sure you're already doing different programs that meet these different requirements and these different skills that students need to learn. So why not wrap them all together into a single program and effectively reach your students in that way with one thing, and with a thing that is a national program that has resources that have been developed for you, so you don't have to come up with it all on your own. So again, that's what I want to really focus on what National History Day is. It's this holistic program that has tried and true frameworks and resources behind it that we're trying to put into your hands as an educator. And if you take all of those resources and put it into the full NHG experience, that's the cherry on top. But at the very least, I know that there are aspects of the program that I'm sure you would benefit from, no matter what circumstance that you might be in. I too just want to spend 1 second talking about standards because I'm talking to a bunch of Virginia educators. I'd be remiss if I didn't. And just as a quick word to say that National History Day meets all of the state SOL standards really easily. That's social studies standards. It meets a bunch of the English standards. It meets, of course, the technology standards. And again, if you need to make this argument, if you need to convince your administrators on why you should adopt National History Day, it should be a really easy sell on the standard side. And if you would like me to put something together, like a quick one sheet to explain all those connections for you, I'd be happy to do that. We also have a great relationship with the VDOE, so there shouldn't be any pushback there. But most importantly, and all that stuff is good and dandy, but most importantly, National History Day is about making social studies fun for kids. And that's really what I want you guys to get out of this, is National History Day makes history come alive. For science and social studies, or excuse me, for science, they have like the science fair where students get to blow up volcanoes with baking soda and vinegar or kill plants with Mozart. Social studies doesn't have really that equivalent. For most kids, it's boring dead people and facts and dates they have to memorize. And that turns anybody off. So why can't we we can change that trajectory. We can change that story. Because these are some images from the National History Day national contest. And these are thousands of kids from all over the country flying in to celebrate their history research projects. Here's a student here doing a performance on somebody from the civil rights movement, and she's really embodying that research. She's embodying that person that she studied. And these kids are all going to remember this experience for the rest of their lives. This is a formative, impactful moment in their young lives. And it's a positive experience around the study of history. And if we're able to do that with just one student in your school, this might be that one, for that one kid, this might be the thing that really makes them come alive, that really clicks for them. And they could then pursue studying history in college and maybe make a career out of it. And that's my number one goal, is just to tell you guys that National History Day exists, how impactful it can be on kids, so you can bring it back to your districts, your schools, and maybe you know that one kid who loves history, but his class, doesn't really do it for him. And this could be that expression for him. Maybe you know that one teacher who is really a dynamic social studies educator, and they would take this program and run with it, and they'd make a huge impact on their students. And that's all what I'm trying to do here, is just know that this program is really exciting. And from those who, like Michelle, who has direct experience with it, she can tell you how this makes kids' faces come alive. And again, it's all around the study of history. Okay, so this is just a few more images from students to prove to you how exciting the program can be. A student doing a project on Arthur Ashe. These are kids at the state contest who won and are going on to the national contest. We can see students make lifelong friends from participating in National History Day. And these students doing a project on World War II, where they're dressing up in World War II era uniforms and clothing. And again, really fun and exciting work all around the study of history. Okay, so that's big picture why you should know about National History Day. But now let's talk, practically speaking, how does the program actually work? Again, I want you to keep in your mind flexibility. So these are the steps that folks do if they want to implement the full NHD experience. And this is normally the order they go in, but maybe not all of this is going to work for you in your classroom. That's fine. Take whatever elements from this framework that you think are going to be effective and just do that. Maybe you want to change up the order. Maybe you want to tweak something here or there. Again, we strongly support any kind of adaptation that's going to work best for you. And I'm going to spend a little bit more time on each of these. So introduction, making sure you and your students are all on the same page. You explain to them what National History Day is all about, set expectations accordingly. Also set expectations with yourself and any of your coworkers that you're going to be working with. A topic selection, that's sort of the real main phase of National History Day. The first one, students, at its core, National History Day is a history research project. So students need to have a topic that's going to be the focus of their research. They then connect that topic to a yearly National History Day theme. So NHD uses thematic learning, which is really effective. Research, students should spend the bulk of their time on this phase because it's the hardest. They need to be finding primary and secondary sources to support a thesis statement, support an argument, analyzing those sources as they go. Once they've found answers to their research questions, they've supported their claim, they then put all their findings together into a creative project form. And then lastly, we have an optional contest structure. And I want to emphasize I want to emphasize optional. Because National History Day is known for our contests, but we're not defined by them. We understand contests are not going to be for everybody, and I don't want you to think that your kids have to go into the contest to get something out of this. It's all about the experience, and it's all about the skills that they're going to be practicing and honing while they go throughout this. So view the contest as like a cherry on top, not the ultimate be all of NHG. Okay, so topic selection. This is really the first main phase because students need to have a topic that's going to be the focus of their research. So I mentioned earlier that we want students to lead their learning as much as possible. And so this is right at the outset, we're putting students in the driver's seat because we do not put any limits as to the type of topics that students can choose from. So that means students can choose any time period, any subject matter, any place. So it can be local history to world history. It can be ancient history to more modern history, and any subject matter that you could think of. So if a student says, hey, Mr. Smith, I don't like history. I think it's boring. Say, fine, what are you interested in? Maybe they love sports. Perfect. There are dozens of great topics in sports history that they could do a project on. Maybe they love science. Maybe they love art or literature. No matter what a student is interested in, there is some kind of tie-in to history. So push them in that direction. Have them do something that's interesting and relevant to them. Because if they are able to choose something that they already have an interest in, that's going to lead their learning to be more relevant to them, of course. It's going to allow it to be more exciting, and it's going to be less scary, less negative, because they were able to have that agency, that choice right at the outset. Now, just because we don't put any limits as to the topic students can choose from, that doesn't mean that you can't as their teacher. You're the boss, you're in charge of your classroom. And so if you think it's going to be most effective for you to limit your students based on the content you're teaching, that is absolutely within your prerogative. So say you teach US 1 or US 2, put date ranges on from when your students can choose from. Maybe they are doing, maybe you teach Virginia studies. They have to choose a topic related to Virginia history. Just allow them to select that specific topic within whatever parameters that you deem necessary. Now, another thing I need to mention when it comes to choosing a topic is to help your students, and to scaffold based on where your students are. So I mentioned this is a program for students in grades 4 through 12. So you're going to be able to customize how much support you provide your students based on where they are and their ability level. So that means if you have a 4th grader, you're going to be a lot more hands-on than if you have a 12th grader. And for whatever grade you teach, this applies no matter what. And it's because if you tell a student, like a 6th grader especially, to choose any topic in history they might be interested in, you're either going to get some really weird answers or you're going to get blank stares. So it's really important to help them through that process. And luckily, we have a lot of tools to do that. One is this, picking a topic Weebly. This is from Minnesota History Day. Minnesota History Day are the gold standard in state history day programs. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars and dozens of staff members. And they develop amazing resources every year that other states shamelessly steal from and give to teachers in our states. And they know their stuff is hot, and they are very happy to share it. But this is a really great tool because this is a screenshot from the website. Students can click on the tile of the subject matter they're interested in, and it opens up a new page with a dozen specific topics related to that subject. They then can choose a specific topic, and that topic has a paragraph of context information. It has some links to additional resources, additional research. And this is a great place for students to explore, to see what is a good topic out there that's close to what they're interested in. And maybe they won't select the final thing within the Weebly. Maybe none of those are precisely what they want to study, but maybe it's connected to something that they want to study. Maybe it'll spark an interest. And that's what we're all about. And you can do this in a variety of different ways. Maybe you want to do it the old-fashioned way. I know I'm talking to technology teachers, but if you want to do it the old-fashioned way of using note cards, you just have a note card on top that's the subject heading, underneath maybe a fun image too, and then underneath a dozen other note cards with specific topics, and on the back of those are 2 or 3 sentences explaining what the topic is all about. It's all about just facilitating students and helping them navigate the huge world of information that's out there to find something that they're going to find interesting. Now, another thing that you need to think about as a teacher is when your students are selecting a topic, there are no limits, but they do need to be able to prove historical significance of some kind. We don't want students to choose something that's super specific or way too broad. We call it right sizing. So it should be something that is specific that they can make an argument about, but also broad enough that there are connections to bigger trends in history. That's one of the big points of NHD, is getting students to understand the complexity of history, the interconnectedness of it all. And if students get way too specific or way too broad, it's hard to answer that so what question. And that's a really key aspect, is students need to be able to answer why. Why are you studying this? And so I often suggest teachers, you have your students pitch to you. So in 30 seconds or in 3 or 4 sentences, they should be able to answer that so what question. And if they can't do that, they probably need to go back to the drawing board and think a little bit longer. Okay, so students, the first step, they select a topic in history they're interested in. The next one is connection to theme. And this is a really important step because it helps students develop an argument. It helps them come up with some kind of analysis or claim, because National History Day is more than just a book report. We don't want students just to tell us about an event in history. We want them to make some kind of stand, to make some kind of an argument, to do that critical thinking, that historical thinking. And the themes help a lot with that. So every year, the National History Day office comes out with a yearly theme that every student across the country has to relate their project to in some way. So this year, the theme is debate and diplomacy in history, successes, failures, consequences. Last year, it was communication in history. Year before that, breaking barriers. So as you can see, these themes are really broad and nebulous. And that's on purpose, because we don't want to exclude any student's interest. We want any kind of topic can fit under any of these themes every year. But the themes are going to be really helpful because they focus students' thinking and help them look at a topic through a particular lens. And let me give you an example. So say a student is interested in the civil rights movement. Okay, great, but way too broad. What aspect of the civil rights movement? So tell them to go back and choose a person, place, or an event. And so they come back and they say, I'm interested in Martin Luther King Jr. Okay, great, but still too broad. You could talk about a dozen different aspects of MLK's life. But now if you examine Martin Luther King Jr. through the lens of debate and diplomacy and history, now you have a project, because you can look at how Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, how that debate in American history impacted the US's Cold War diplomacy. So that is the point of the theme. It's to develop an argument, a lens, an inroad into a broader topic that's already out there. Because we don't want just a dozen book reports on Martin Luther King or Navajo Code Talkers or Jackie Robinson. We want those students to think critically about what kind of impact did they have on a particular aspect of history, and why does that matter? What are the big picture connections? Okay, so before we move on to the next step, I do want you all to spend just a second thinking about this year's theme and your particular interest. And this will be a great example of how anything you might be interested in or anything a student might be interested in can make some kind of connection to the yearly NHD theme. So I'm going to give you all 2 minutes, and you're going to come up with 6 ideas. 6 topics, and you don't even have to be an expert in history. So get out a piece of paper, open up a document, just jot these down so you can remember them. So you're going to come up with 3 topics in history that are connected to debate. And then you're going to come up with 3 topics in history that are connected to diplomacy. Any kind of connection that you can think of. It can be tenuous, it can be obvious. Any kind of way that you can make some kind of argument that it connects to debate. I don't know why this keeps happening. It has a mind of its own. Okay, any kind of way that you can make that argument. And really, anything in history. So don't let it limit you. It might be something you're interested in. So take 2 minutes, stop those down, and then we're going to go around and we're going to share. So that's why you need to have 3 of each, because we're not going to repeat any as we go around the room. So you're going to be listening, and if anybody says what you wrote down, then you are going to come up with a new one. Okay, so go ahead and start. I am going to start my timer over here. 3 on each. And folks Zooming, please write down yours as well. Are there any folks in here who are freaking out right now? Or worried that you don't know anything about history? Don't worry. Again, imagine you're a student and you hate history and you're like, oh, there's nothing I can think of. What are you interested in? Just think about that. Think about what your interests might be and make any of those kind of general connections to both debate and then to diplomacy as well. And this might help too. Successes, failures, consequences. What are some good examples of debate in history? What are some bad ones? What are some good examples of diplomacy? What are some bad ones? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna put 2 minutes on the clock. Well, there's a small group of us, so we're gonna put 1 minute on the clock, and we're gonna go around and you're gonna share your ideas. We're gonna start with debate, and then we'll do the second one, diplomacy. So for this first minute, we're gonna go around the room and you're gonna say your topic that is connected to debate. And if you hear someone say yours, then go to another one on your list. So no repetition as we go around the room. And again, this is just to give you an idea of all the different topics in history. And this is a great thing to do with your kids, an icebreaker, to get them just thinking outside the box. All right, so we're gonna start here. And we're gonna go back up around and we'll try to end over here. And if we don't get all the way through, that's fine. So starting the clock, 1 minute, we're starting with debate. So say your debate idea and no repetition. Okay, go. Perfect.
I'm thinking between American Indians and English colonization.
Perfect. That's fine. If you don't have one, that's okay.
I did debates and the effect of television on political leaders.
Awesome. You guys in the middle.
Oh, that's us.
Oh, she already took mine, dang it.
See?
Galen?
No.
Nope. Okay, go up.
The Constitution.
That's a great debate.
Kennedy and Nixon.
Excellent. And in the back row.
I did something random. Where did Amelia Earhart go?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Declaration of Independence.
Perfect.
Women's suffrage.
Excellent.
Sorry, I stopped at the whole Kennedy Nixon.
Oh, it's no problem. See? Okay, so that was debate. As you can see, we're everywhere from like classic TV debates between presidents to ideological ones on the Constitution, Scopes monkey trial. I think that's a great one. Okay, so that was debate. We're now going to do diplomacy, and we're picking up here on the right-hand side, and we're going to go back around until we're done with a minute. Okay, so diplomacy.
I did New Deal policy, whether it's beneficial or negative.
Excellent. In the back of the right, there you go, or the left.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay.
Just trading in general, just trading between countries.
Trade, excellent.
Trade.
The renaming of schools and impact on marginalized groups.
Excellent, that'd be great.
Pooling Jewish runners in the
local.
1936 Olympics and the diplomacy between US and Germany.
Really cool, yeah, Olympic diplomacy, okay.
I just think of Wilson's 14 points.
Well, we're gonna see a lot of Treaty of Versailles this year, I think, excellent. You know, okay, over here, pass.
Roman conquest, Romanization.
Okay, excellent, conquest,
Pass.
I did isolation in World War I.
excellent. In the middle?
Pass.
Okay, we're about out of time. So as you can see, this is a great activity you can do with your kids to get those juices flowing. There are no wrong answers. You can make an argument that anything is connected to debate, anything is connected to diplomacy, and we don't want the themes to be an impediment, a barrier to students. Instead, the themes are there to help students. It's there to help focus their thinking and develop some kind of an argument around it. Okay, so that's the theme. So after students have chosen their topic, they've connected their topic to the yearly NHD theme, they've developed a research question, they've developed a thesis statement, they now move on to the next phase. And this is what they should be spending the bulk of their time on, which is research. And they need to be spending the bulk of their time on this because it's the hardest. We want every student to engage in some way with primary sources. Now, again, scaffolding. So fourth graders are going to have way different expectations than a 12th grader will. You know, if a fourth grader finds 2 or 3 primary sources, that is a huge win. because this is probably the first time they're learning about what a primary source is. So don't have those same expectations. A 12th grader may be a little bit more advanced. Maybe we're looking at 10 to 15 sources. But we as National History Day do not make that decision for you. You know your students better than we do. So you're able to figure out for your kids what is the appropriate amount of sources based on their age group, based on their ability level. Same thing with the topics they choose. If a student does a project on ancient Egypt, well, it's going to be a lot harder to find primary sources here in Virginia than it would be if they did their project on George Washington. So those expectations are set accordingly as well. So primary sources and then also secondary sources. A great opportunity to start teaching students. Wikipedia maybe is an okay place to get started on some background info, but not something you should be relying upon in your project itself. Yes. Yes, we do. And that is a perfect question because it lands perfectly into my next slide, which, well, yeah, I'll give you your $5 later. So research is the hardest phase, but it's also the one that we have the most support to give you and your students on, because we recognize it's so hard. As an adult who has to do research pretty frequently, it's hard. So when we're asking 4th or 6th graders or even 10th graders to do this, we need to really help them through the process. Don't just throw your kids into Google and say, come back with 10 sources, because that's going to be a disaster. So help them through, and there are a couple of these databases that I want to point out. And to your question, yes, I'm going to give you a link to a teacher drive, a Google Drive that I have that has free resources on every step of the process. One of the folders is on research, and I have several guides that I've curated, databases, museums, websites that are on different time periods, different subject matter. Some are more advanced, some are more basic, but there's something on pretty much anything your kids might choose and might need to do research on. I have a database of some kind on. But that's also where you come into play as technology specialists, as librarians. No matter what your role is, I'm sure you know maybe some database that's really cool that maybe your fellow teachers don't. So put that together and share it with one another. Again, this is a great opportunity for collaboration and to help one another. But a couple that I want to point out. The first is DocsTeach. So DocsTeach, if you're unfamiliar, at the very least, take out of this program, take DocsTeach away, because DocsTeach is amazing. It's an affiliate of the National Archives, and it's basically the student teacher friendly version of the National Archives. They have hundreds or thousands of digitized primary sources on every different subject matter and time period in American history. And they're the really big documents too, you know, presidential archives, that kind of stuff. But then also just everyday letters and evidence from everyday life as well. But the great thing that they have related to National History Day is this, they have a whole page on NHD. And so if you go to the NHD page, they have information on the yearly theme. Then on the left-hand side of the page, they have a list of topics that they have curated, that they have primary sources on that are related to this year's theme. So this would be a great place to send your kids to look for a topic, because they don't have to worry about choosing something that doesn't have primary sources. It's going to be hard to find sources. We want to make this as easy as possible for students. So if they go here, you know, they can, if they're interested maybe in the Declaration of Independence or the Treaty of Paris, they click on one of those links and there are going to be a dozen primary sources that are digitized already on that topic. It's especially great if you're doing a project on like 18th or 19th century history, because all of those documents have been transcribed for, in most cases, so you don't have to worry about deciphering 18th century handwriting. So great for students, but it's also great for you as a teacher, because all of these things on the right-hand side of the screen, those are all teaching activities that are, again, all digitized, and they're all on teaching primary sources, using a variety of different skills and using a variety of different types of sources as well. And you can click on this. You have a teacher page where it gives you teaching instructions and background. And then they have a link that you can give to your students that they click, they use, that has their instructions. It has the source, it has what they need to do with it. And then they can type in the answers and email those answers to you all through DocsTeach's website. So a great opportunity to use technology in the one-to-one world that we're starting to live in. You don't have to print out a bunch of handouts and material. You can do it all online using DocsTeach's stuff. So DocsTeach is awesome. And the other source that I want to recommend is Virginia Focused, which is the Document Bank of Virginia, put together by our friends at the Library of Virginia. It's basically Virginia's version of DocsTeach. There are thousands or hundreds, in this case, of digitized primary sources on all different subject matter and time period, very easily searchable. It has the source itself that you can see on the right-hand corner there that you can open up and look at in a larger window. They have a couple paragraphs of context, of background information. They have citation information for the student to look at as well. Plus, they also have the standards that each source is connected to in some way, and suggested questions or analysis activities as well. So again, this is making it easy on the students. It's not just giving them a photo and making them come up with the questions they need to ask. It's doing some of that work for them. So again, utilize these resources that are going to help the students make the research process as enjoyable as it can be. Because we don't want students to have bad experiences with research and flounder and then not ever want to do this kind of thing again. We want to try to make it as easy as possible and walk them through the steps, build their confidence. So in future years, maybe they do go out all on their own and they don't worry about using these more useful tools. They find some cool stuff out in the wilderness. Okay, so when it comes to research, utilize those relationships we have. I also want to emphasize when it comes to research that, and this is nothing new or revolutionary, but with a project like NHG, it's really important to keep track of your students' work as they go. You don't want to assign research and then say, come back to me in a month with 5 sources, because maybe 5 of your kids will, but maybe 10 of your kids really struggle and they come back and they only have 1 or 2 sources and they'll be a month behind schedule. So it's really important to keep track of your kids' work in real time. And there's a lot of different tools to do it. I'm sure you all are familiar with many of them, but I just wanted to promote one, which is Noodle Tools. I don't get paid by Noodle Tools for promoting their resource. It's just really good. Plus, they have a relationship with National History Day, where if you're a first-year Noodle Tools user and you're a first-year NHD user, you get your first year for free. And then they have very affordable school-wide subscriptions as well, where it's only a couple $100 and you can get it for your entire school. So it's really worth it. But what Noodle Tools is, it's an online note-taking service where you as a teacher make an account, you give links to all your kids, they sign in, they take their notes based on their grade level. Noodle Tools can ask them questions, like leading questions about the sources to help them with that note-taking. Students can link together, so if they're in a group, they can take notes all in a single place. It also helps them with citations, where there's a citation maker. And you as the teacher can look at all of your students in one dashboard and see all of their progress really easily. So Noodle Tools is a great option to keep track of your kids' work. But if this is not right for you, that's fine. Use whatever your school division might already be using. At the very least, use like Google Docs, make a Google folder and have your students upload their primary sources there, have a doc where they keep their notes in real time so you can keep track. Again, we want to make sure students don't fall behind. Okay, so students have selected a topic in history they're interested in. They've connected that topic to the yearly theme, developed research questions, a thesis statement. They now move on. They've done their research, answered those questions, supported that thesis statement. They now move on to the final phase, which is presentation, putting all their findings together into a creative project form. This is again where student choice comes into play, because we want students to be able to choose the type of project that they create. We understand that kids, there are all different types of learners out there. And so we want students to express themselves, express their learning in a way that's most exciting and going to be most successful for them. So we offer 5 different project category types, and students can do these projects as either individuals or as groups of up to 5. Again, though, that's up to you. If you as a teacher think that your students are not capable of working in a group of 5, maybe they're only good in groups of 3, you can make that limitation as well. And maybe you think that not all of your students are going to succeed with like making a documentary, for instance, and you could eliminate that option for them if you want. Again, power is in your hands. Flexibility is up to you. But the 5 different project category types are performance, website, paper, exhibit, and documentary. And we're going to talk about each one in a little bit more detail. So first one we'll start off is website. NHG uses its own website builder called NHG Web Central. So if you go to just nhd.org/NHD Web Central, it brings you to this page where it tells you all about it. And this is also a great option because this is a free program that they use. It's a website builder, and you can utilize this even if you, again, don't want to do the full NHD experience. This is just another free website builder that you can put in your back pocket. And maybe this is going to be something that's really successful for you and your students in your school division. But it's really great for kids who are new to the NHD or new to website building because it has tons of FAQs and videos that walks them through the process. But it's also great for those students who are more advanced because it allows for coding as well. So it's great for any kind of kid who might be interested in technology. This is a student's website on FDR and the fireside chats. And you can see this is a middle school project. So pretty basic, but still it's a great project. And at the top, there's the navigation bar. This is the bit.ly and the QR code if you want to check it out and look through the whole website yourself. This is a high school student doing a project on the ENIAC 6, women programmers in the 1950s. So website's great for those kids who are into technology. The next one we're going to talk about is exhibits. Exhibits is by far our most popular category every year. It's basically a trifold poster board, but it can be a lot more than that as well. It's most popular because it's what most students have some kind of academic experience doing a project like this before. So great for those students who are into artistic expression, graphic design. We're now allowing students to create digital exhibit boards as well. So they can do sort of the more traditional trifold, or they can create through PowerPoint or Adobe or whatever software that they might want. They can create a digital board. So these are elementary exhibits. So you can see, I'm going to show you the progression from elementary through high school. And this students here, it's sort of a book reporty-ish, but they engage with primary sources. And for elementary kids, that's all we're asking. So again, I want to set your expectations accordingly. This is students in middle school, and you can see we can get creative with the exhibits as well. This student did her project on Jewish history in the form of a dreidel. This is a digital middle school project on the Navajo Code Talkers. So you can see getting a little bit more advanced, a lot more text, using more primary sources as we go up. And all these examples, again, can be found in the link that I'm going to get you at the end. And then this is high school, so more advanced still. A digital example on Gibson girls and a physical example using recreation of the Lee Monument in Richmond on monuments. Okay, this is my video. So can we see if this will work? All right, this is a performance. So great for those kids who are into dramatic arts.
I'm a hard worker, but I used to hate homework. Whenever my dad tried to get me to finish an assignment, I said, no way. But then he told me, Ashna, if you work hard now, it'll pay off later. Look what happened to Mulan. Unfortunately, my favorite princess was Belle. The point still stands. Fairy tales have evolved to become a critical and effective communication tool to teach kids morals. How did this happen? Who created the first fairy tale, wrote them, publicized them, and made it for kids? Let me take you through 400 years of fairy tale history in 4 chapters as I read you. Once upon a time, communicating morals to kids through fairy tales. Chapter 1, a new communication tool is born.
So as you can see, student doing a project on fairy tales in history. Like, who would have thought of that? But that student did, and it's a really exciting way to learn about history and express herself. Students write a script, they have 10 minutes. They can, again, do these as groups if they want to, have costumes and a set and a background. One of my favorite ones, just to see students' creativity. And then we're gonna show one more video here for documentaries.
There is a language little known. Lovers claim it as their own. Its symbols smile upon the land, wrought by nature's wondrous hand, and in their silent beauty speak of life and joy to those who seek for love divine and sunny hours in the language of the flowers.
The untrained eye A bouquet of flowers is just a jumble of pretty colors and delicate petals. However, according to Flora's Dictionary by Elizabeth Wirt, published in the height of the Victorian era, the true meaning could be, I declare revenge against you, beware. Surprisingly, flowers can express a wide range of complex emotions to those who know how to read them, which was a necessity during the Victorian era when such sentiments were often repressed. By delving deep into the history of the communication of flowers, we can understand the true depth of feeling that were buried in the secrets of the past.
The Victorian era was a period in England. There is a language little known.
So again, students doing a project on how flowers in the Victorian era were used to communicate morals. I would never have thought of that, but that student and her partner, who actually was her sister, that really spoke to them. And I thought that project was so cool because it just demonstrates all the different ways students can approach history and how creative they can get and how much fun that they can have with expressing what they've done. Now, when it comes to all of these project types, I do want to mention that there are rules that we have, but the rules only apply if students enter the contests that we run. So if your students don't enter contests, then the rules don't matter. You can alter the expectations to, again, whatever is going to work best for your students in your particular classroom. And also our philosophy towards rules is we're not a big rule sticklers. We want students to follow the rules. They're there to create a level playing field, but it's all about the learning experience. Students learn from making those mistakes. And then I also want to mention that if students enter contests, they also create two additional aspects of their projects. One is a process paper, which is a student reflection paper. It's informal, but we're asking students to step back and to tell us why they did what they did. How did they do it? And that reflection is really important for that learning to be more impactful, to be more relevant to the students. And then we also ask them to create a bibliography to engage with that detail of history as well. So again, this is more than just a book report, more than just a history research project, really asking students to do a lot and to engage with a lot of different skills all in one thing. Okay, contests. So we're running low on time, but I do want to mention contests because they're so exciting and they really are what make NHD stand apart. So contests happen on the first level that happens on what we call the district or regional level. So if your students are interested, that is the first contest that they would enter as part of the official NHD contest structure. We break the state down into 8 different regions, and those contests happen in late February and throughout the month of March. So if your students are interested in entering the contest, they probably need to start their projects around now or in January-ish to give them, at least 4 to 6 weeks to work on it. And I would say that's sort of the minimum amount of time that you should probably budget for your kids is 6 weeks-ish. Now, again, flexibility. So I want to really emphasize that we see every different kind of time commitment model out there. We see everything from 4 weeks to 12 weeks and anything in between. But generally speaking is that 6 weeks is the minimum that we see. But again, anything can really work. But students, once they enter that district contest, if they do well, they then get invited to advance to the state contest, which our museum runs at the VMHC in Richmond at the end of April. And then students that do well at the state contest get to go to a national contest, which takes place at the University of Maryland in June of every year. And that is a really exciting time. We take kids to the Smithsonian, to Capitol Hill to meet our legislators. And it's just a really fun and unique experience. At the contest, students are broken down by age group, so they compete against their peers. And students can compete again as individuals or as groups. So why should your kids enter contests? So first off is recognition and celebration. We're all about at NHD giving students the spotlight, putting them on the stage and recognizing them for the hard work that they've done. And this is regardless if your student is an A student or a D student. Every single student, no matter their ability level, deserves some of that feedback. And even the worst project that you have ever seen, there is something redeeming about it. They did something good. And so we're all about telling students, no matter how good they actually did, we're telling them and highlighting those positives. And it's an ability to do it on a larger stage than is just your school. They do it on the local stage, on the state, and even on a national stage. They also have the ability to win prizes and awards at the contests, especially the state and national level. We give out cash prizes and awards up to $10,000 at the national contest. Academic feedback, each student is examined by a panel of judges who are local educators, museum people, who tell them what they did well and how they can improve for next time. So each individual student is going to get that personalized feedback. That students also get the ability to practice public speaking at the contests. They have an interview with their judges. The interview is not an interrogation. It's just a time to give the students 10 minutes to be the expert, to tell the judges how they did their work and what they most enjoyed about the process. And then lastly is NHG is a ton of fun. These contests are really, really fun. And I'm not just saying that because I work and I do this program. It's really true that I've seen lots of other academic programs that are out there, and NHG is way different. You know, all those other programs like Quiz Bowl and that kind of stuff are really cutthroat, and they sort of have that negative competition aspect. And NHG, it is a contest, but it's not like that. The atmosphere is celebratory and it's uplifting. And even kids who don't do well and you know, their best friend maybe goes on, everybody is celebrating everybody, no matter the quality of the project. And I know that those who have experienced NHG would back me up when I say that. Okay, so how can you, as somebody attending this session, how can you get involved? What are your next steps? So the number one, and this is the hardest, is be a sponsor, be a coach. Do this in your school with your students. No matter who you are, you don't have to be a history teacher. You can do this with kids. If you're a librarian, if you're a tech specialist, if you have access to young people in any way, you can be a sponsor. And again, don't do this by yourself. Rope someone else into it, trick them into it, do whatever you need to do. Find a buddy to do this with. It's going to make it better for you. It's going to make it better for the students. And again, it's all, the proof is in the pudding. When the program is over, you're really going to be happy that you did it. You can also just share your passions. You are all experts in different ways. Curate topic lists that maybe you have interest in. You can also share your expertise when it comes to technology, searching tips and tricks, database tips and tricks, software applications. Maybe you know a great filmmaking software or a great digital creating creative expression for the exhibits software. And then lastly, you could judge at a contest as well. It's a great way to dip your toes into the NHG waters. We always need more contests at both the local and at the state level. And it's really fun. You're working with fellow educators, museum people. We give you free breakfast and free lunch, so I don't need to say more. Plus, you get to see students at the end of the process with their finished projects, and it's just a really fun celebratory time. And trust me, again, if you get involved by judging a contest, you're going to get hooked. And I really do mean that. Find out more information. So go to our website, which is virginiahistory.org/VHD. Tons of great resources and more details there. Also check out NHD's website, nhd.org. Again, National History Day is all about teaching skills, social studies skills to students. So you don't have to do the full thing to get something out of it. We have resources on how to write a thesis statement, how to research on Google, how to do these basic things that every student needs to do. And maybe we have a video or a worksheet that you haven't seen before that you're going to find helpful. So at least check us out there. Also, NHG has some great professional development opportunities as well. Lastly, I want to put these up. So newsletters on top. If you want to keep up to date about all things going on in the Virginia History Day world, I send out a newsletter every month that has information on upcoming workshops that I do. They're always free on different topics and skills. I send out free resources. I also have information on contests when time comes for that. And then this Google Drive down here is my one-stop shop for free stuff. Again, every step of the NHD process, plus just research guides, worksheets on how to write a thesis statement, just that basic general skills as well. And if you go in here and you are thinking, well, I actually need this and I don't see it, just ask me. I'd be happy to give it to you. Again, I want to emphasize this is a framework that we've developed that's been around for over 30 or 40 years. Any kind of resource that you could need has already been developed somewhere, sometime. So don't do any of that work yourself. Ask me and I will find it for you and give it to you. So again, I want to emphasize this is a great opportunity to do project-based performance assessments or just project-based learning in general with your kids, where a lot of the work has already been done for you. And it's not rocket science. We're not reinventing the wheel here. I am sure this connects in some way to something you're already doing with your kids. And it's just a matter of tweaking it slightly, putting it maybe in a different order, a different time period in your school year. And now your students have the ability to show off their projects, to win prizes, to win awards, and to just enhance what you're already doing. So that's really how I want you to view National History Day. Not as this thing that's separate and big and scary, but something that's really close to what you're already doing. It just takes a little bit of tweaking, and you can really enhance what your students have access to. Plus, it's going to look great for you as an educator when your kids are winning national prizes and tens of thousands of dollars. We give out teacher awards as well. And it's just a really fun celebratory time. And then lastly, my email. So please don't hesitate to reach out at any time with anything related to National History Day, with museums, with social studies in general. Please know that my museum and myself personally, we are just here to help teachers and students in whatever way we can. So please know that we're a resource, we're available, we're open, and we want to help. So thank you all. I know I'm right at my time or over my time, so I apologize. But are there any questions that I could answer right now? There's a lot of stuff in a short period. So thank you all for sticking with me. Yes.
Do you ever, so instead of like writing a paper, I have a lot of kids that they actually write comic books and they'll design and even draw them out and stuff.
Sure.
Would that be acceptable as a?
So they wouldn't be able to submit a comic book itself, but I think there's a lot of connections, like that Navajo Code Talker project sort of had that. They used graphic novels as part of their project itself. So I think there would be a way to incorporate interest in comic books, but they wouldn't be able to submit a comic book itself as part of the project. But reach out to me and I will try. And that's the number one thing, is no one has ever asked me something that I've had to say completely no to. We've always found some kind of connection, some kind of middle ground, and we're really flexible that way. So again, just be open, be flexible, and if you have an idea, reach out, and I'd be happy to work with you to try to figure out how we can make it work. Any other questions? Yes, Michelle. The District 4 contest is to be determined, but hopefully very soon we should know when that will take place. I apologize for not having that date. So fingers crossed, will be in person this year. We had to go virtual the past 2 years. I mean, it was fine. We had to make do, but we really want to get back in person. We want to get that just excitement, that energy in the room. So fingers crossed, as long as everything goes well. We'll be in person. There are some Virginia History Day buttons and flyers at the back of the room on the edge of the rows too. So please take some of those back to your school division to share with teachers. Take as many buttons as you might want. And thank you all again for being here. Have a great rest of your conference. And thank you so much.